Excellent. We have started our broadcast, and so I'm going to do my little tech upgrade to get the new room started. Give me one moment. Or this is the room. I need to update the live stream. Shift 6 Part 2 has ended, or 5 Part 2 has ended. And Shift 6 is now beginning. And so, ladies and gentlemen who are joining us in Shift 6, welcome to the Site-42 24-hour charity live stream to benefit the San Francisco LGBT Center. Please donate to that GoFundMe throughout the day. Tweet this at everybody. Tell them what we're doing and spread the word. I want to see 50 people in the chat by the time we start Shift 7. We had 15 as our maximum in the last one. I would like to see that triple. I have big goals. Let's see what happens. Tweak this thing. I don't know. How does it work? Shift 6. We save that, and I pull up that chat, and I drop that link, and we have all of our folk.
The YouTube simulcast has some fun issues going on. Just in regards to my profile picture being visible.
Maybe it's because it's just using your profile picture instead of OBS.
Maybe. Give it a second. Maybe it'll up. Or you could try turning it off and turning it back on again.
I will pop out and pop back in.
Testing.
I'm hearing a weird robotic tinge to your microphone right now.
I'm going to talk for just a second to make sure no one's hearing that same voice from me. Am I clear?
No, I hear it.
No, yeah, it comes up every once in a while. I'm not entirely sure why or how, but I don't know.
It's been coming and going the entire stream.
Maybe it will just clear out. Fingers crossed.
In the past, and this time around, it's not. It has in the past also been so bad that you were almost impossible to understand, and right now you're pretty easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Oh, so yes. For those of you on YouTube, we do have a fourth guest. Their box is just blank. That is Gavir. Gavir is here to join us, replacing Uranium Empire for this shift. And Gavir, did you come in here with any articles you wanted to read?
I have a large list that I spent about half an hour putting together, just bringing up articles from among some of my favorite SCPs, some of which that can well define how we classified them, even in the first generation, because I find often that safe SCPs can be some of the most dangerous, suspiciously enough.
Ooh, and I think your microphone just cleared up.
I've actually started leaving object classes off of my articles. I don't think that they're important at all. I think they communicate so little information to the audience that they might as well just be left out. And so I started doing.
Oh, yeah. The one in specific that I note as a safe SCP that could end the world is 498. I find it particularly interesting that it's only by lack of doing anything that it could destroy everything.
Well, why don't you take us through it?
It is.
All right, so SCP-498, Object Class Safe. SCP-498 is to be contained within a soundproof bunker beneath Site Redacted, with a minimum of 2 attending Foundation security officers, properly equipped with noise-canceling headphones, in addition to standard-issue equipment. The bunker is to be soundproof to noise-cancel a minimum of 95% of outgoing sound waves. A fully automated mechanical arm is to be used to reset SCP-498. Following incident I-498-TAC-B, in the event of failure on an on-site Foundation security officer is to be sent in to manually reset until such a time automated safety procedures can be reinstated. Do we want to include the lined out different secondary containment procedures?
There's no reason to. If it's crossed out, that means it doesn't exist anymore. Also, you misspelled charity in the description of the YouTube.
Oh, no. Thank you for telling me that. I will fix that.
Ooh. Do you want me to continue on?
Yes. I was just telling you there was a misspelling in the description. That's fine. He can fix that easy.
Description. SCP-498 appears to be a Coway brand RT-800 electronic alarm clock with a yellow LED display set to U.S. Central Time Zone. When heard by a subject, the alarm has been seen to induce a state of increased alertness until reset. This effect prevents restful sleep in SCP-498's vicinity, although micronaps are possible. Other than the snooze button and the display, none of the other functions in the device appear operational. Notably, the device continues to display time and require resetting even while not connected to a power source. Attempts to dismantle for SCP-498 have not been successful in preventing it from activating, nor have they determined how it operates without an obvious power source. Every 11 minutes, the clock's alarm goes off, gradually increasing in volume. Testing reveals that the starting alarm plays at 30 decibels, increasing 4 decibels every 10 seconds until the snooze button every 10 seconds the snooze button is not depressed. There has been no evidence that this process will ever stop. The loudest recorded level exceeded expunged decibels before reset was achieved. The sound waves produced have been seen to damage nearby structures, cause internal bleeding, and are theorized to potentially cause seismic activity. Addendum 498 TAC A. Containment Protocol updated. See Incident Report I-498-B. Incident Report I-498-B. Redacted date, redacted site, redacted containment bunker. Due to a malfunction in the automated mechanical arm, secondary containment procedures were activated. 2 Class D personnel were utilized until a replacement arm could be manufactured and deployed. D4112 and D4113 were in day 3 of their containment procedure, and post-incident psychoanalysis indicates severe sleep deprivation and stress due to prolonged exposure to SCP-498. The 2 D-Class were observed conversing during this time, although lip reading proved to be ineffective in determining the nature of the conversation. At 10:45 p.m., 4113 was observed depressing the snooze button on the device. At 10:56 p.m., D4112 begins to become noticeably and increasingly agitated, gesturing toward 498 and 4113. At 10:57 p.m., D4113 is seen becoming more and more aggressive. 4112 appears to be attempting to reason with him. At 10:57:50 p.m., 4112 attempts to reach for the device. 4113 pushes 4112 away. I'm thinking I'm going to be reducing it to 13 and 12 to make it easier so I'm not constantly repeating those numbers for our audience. At this time, the attending security officers notice the situation via closed circuit camera. At 10:58 p.m., SCP-498 is still not being reset. Attending security officers decide to intervene. At 10:45 p.m., 12 and 13 are seen shouting at one another, with the latter standing over SCP-498. Security Officer Black Box Wilson enters the bunker without noise-canceling headphones, a violation of containment protocol. At 10:58:53, Officer Wilson appears to be arguing with the 2 D-Class, presumably ordering them to reset the device. At 10:59 p.m., 12 again attempts to reach SCP-498, at which point he is struck by 13 and incapacitated. At 10:59 and 12 seconds, Officer Wilson draws his baton and engages 13. Note: D-Class 4113 was convicted of murdering his CO and several fellow soldiers during a tour of duty in Iraq. At 24 seconds, 13 wrestles the baton from Officer Wilson, subsequently subduing him. Second Security Officer Blank Thomas enters at this point, equipped with headphones and his sidearm. At 10:59 and 29 seconds, Officer Thomas draws his sidearm and fires twice, missing both times before 13 closes the distance between them. A scuffle ensues. At 10:59 and 46 seconds, Officer Thomas's headphones are knocked away. Both personnel are exhibiting severe pain at this point, presumably due to SCP-498. Camera footage vibrating due to acoustic stress. At 11 p.m., Officer Thomas manages to put distance between himself and 13 and fire his sidearm. D-Class 4113 is terminated. Officer Thomas stumbles from the bunker, sealing SCP-498 and the occupants inside. Despite ruptured eardrums, he managed to activate the containment breach emergency switch before passing out. At 11:01 and 56 seconds, camera fails due to acoustic stress. At 11:29 and 58 seconds, at 11:25 and 58 seconds, due to an unrelated simultaneous breach at Site Blank, the containment teams arrived nearly 25 minutes after the alarm was activated. Upon arriving at the scene, it was discovered that D4112 at some point crawled himself to SCP-498 and activated the snooze reset. He was found repeatedly depressing the button, despite suffering from burst eardrums and internal bleeding. After action report, new containment protocol initiated. Both security officers Wilson and Thomas were diagnosed with eardrum rupture, resulting in deafness. Officer Wilson treated for severe internal bleeding. Both reassigned. D4112 was treated for severe internal bleeding, commended for preventing a potentially catastrophic containment breach, and successfully terminated at the end of the month.
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen one of those. Terminated at the end of the month.
Stupid motherfuckers.
Waste of manpower.
I mean, come on. It's just so silly. It's so ridiculous that I find it more ridiculous that people thought at a certain point in the past thought that made sense.
Let's put the convicts in charge of pressing the snooze and just have security watching them.
No, you know what? In the silly, I was gonna say there's so many things about this that bother me. Let's forget the fact that they're terminated at the end of the month part. They have two guys and they just stick them in the room and have them hit the snooze button until they get the robot arm fixed. Considering the way the anomaly is outlined, couldn't they have just in and out and not had people dealing with sleep deprivation?
Can't rotate them. That's not, not sensical, I guess.
They don't have enough D-Class. They
They're
just
killing
don't
them
have
all.
enough of them
Keep
to
fucking
rotate.
killing.
Obviously. Well, there are a lot of the mind-altering SCPs I would understand terminating at the D-Class afterwards, but experienced D-Class can be invaluable for other SCPs that don't alter their mind or affect them adversely in the long run.
And yeah, and even with mind-altering SCPs, there's probably some use for those people afterward. People are incredibly valuable resource. Yeah, definitely. Like the idea of experience. Somebody was talking about this in Discord a while back, and I had a new doctor is assigned to be in charge of an SCP project, and the D class has been there for like 3 or 4 years, and they have oddly enough, because they've been there for so long, they've got more experience with this anomaly than anyone else that works for the Foundation. And they don't get along with the new project director, and the project director puts in a transfer order, and the guy in charge of the site transfers the new project director out rather than the D class.
I mean, one of the first skips I ever read, and one of them that's on my list, was 1983, 1983, which showed a D class receiving a Foundation star, basically Medal of Honor for the Foundation, because of the actions he did. So the Foundation does recognize these personnel when they go above and beyond. It's just in this first generation, a lot of them are just nameless cannon fodder, just numbers.
Yeah, not to mention that in the early SCPs, the idea is like, look how bad the Foundation is.
They're doing
save the world. We give them a commendation, and then we kill them.
Yeah. It was definitely this place does unethical things to save your life. It's because they don't see any other alternatives. But some of them, like 498, while the object itself is interesting, the way the Foundation has handled it is the fact that people are stupid and didn't think, oh, maybe we can get 6 guys and have them on rotation.
Yeah,
Plus, like, I doubt any
put 2
D
guys
class
and force them.
would want to. I doubt any D class would want to cooperate, like in any capacity, if they knew they were just going to die regardless of what they did. Like, wouldn't you just want to cause as much fucking havoc as possible?
Well, they end up getting brought in under the guise of, mostly when it's criminals, they're brought in under the guise of getting to go free after they complete their assisting the Foundation government work.
Imagine 2 D class having a conversation about how they never see any previous D class from previous month. Like, really? Not a single one of them stuck around?
Well, especially because like some things can really like they have the potential to cause a lot of damage. I read one article, I think Puppy Machine, which is a weird article, where it's a machine that will like try to kill a dog whatever way you tell it to. And one of the D class gets halfway through the word nuclear bomb, and then the researcher tackles him, so he doesn't finish it because he doesn't know what's going to happen. But it just putting stuff like that in the hands of people who could just easily fuck over the Foundation isn't super smart, and you kind of want to have some sort of camaraderie with your cannon fodder.
Also, has problems, of course. I don't know. I know that's not the point of this stream and everything, but I'm getting into the point where I'm critiquing these articles as we're reading them. And the pit where it says the loudest recorded level exceeded black box decibels before reset was achieved. Fine, whatever. You don't want to put a decibel number in there because you know whatever you put will get taken apart by people going, that's not realistic or that's not right. So they just went with a black box number because they were lazy. But the sound after that line, there's no reason for the last sentence. The sound waves produced have seen to damage nearby structure. That's literally telling instead of showing, right? You say it's this giant decibel number, and let me remind you, since you're stupid and don't know how the sound can work, that it damages nearby structures, causes internal bleeding, and could cause earthquakes. When that's already implied. Because your audience isn't.
Yeah. I'm gonna...
All right, let's see. I've got my next idea on the list of readings is I got a container from So Many Lost Throwaways, and it is specifically a list of SCP/tales that include LGBT characters. I figured it might be appropriate for the stream. And although I really just want to shotgun all of the bottle dick canon in one go, because that is adjacent.
I wrote a bottle dick story.
I almost wrote a bottle dick story. I was this close. Just didn't get around to it.
One. I'm sad I didn't get to write one of the first 5 and like be part of the founding of the canon. I wrote the 6th one.
So close. Oh, apparently YouTube says that my voice has gone to absolute hell in the digitization. Curses and drat. We'll wait until the storm passes.
Yeah, you're a little choppy. That is...
You know what most about 498 box to D fixing his mic, I think. They give us a 3-digit decibel at the highest it's ever achieved, but at the end of the instant, it was at least nearing 2,000 decibels. So it really is just a black box for black box's sake.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Or at
think.
least...
I think, speaking of what I was talking about earlier, 2,000 decibels is like impossible.
The main site your can't swim dick honest.
Oh boy, I'm
me at least.
getting all sorts of quality problems now. Sweetness. I wonder if I can pop in and out of my spot without stopping the broadcast.
You're fine, right?
Are we good?
We're about to find out.
All right, I can do this. I can do this. It won't break. Oh, wait. Are you going to tell me? Ah, yes. Our tech crew is checking down on, going to check on the camera and audio issues while we're doing this, but I can cam down and come back up and see if it fixes it.
Oh no, he's got.
It's over. Or not. Let's see. Are we still good? Are we still alive? Do I sound
believe
any
so.
better?
You don't sound any better, but you were pretty good when you went off. So it's like the same as when you went off. It's just not perfect, but I mean I can hear you.
Still
I'm
audible.
waiting for you to from the YouTube stream to see if it actually killed it or not. Oh no, it's still up.
Yeah.
I have just moved to the bottom. I can live down here. All right. So my vote for next SCP is going to be 4175. I don't know it.
We want to
but
make a note about. I do want to make a note about decibels real quick.
Oh, okay.
2,000 decibels when we were talking about. Yeah, we stopped because we were trying to get things figured out. But 180 decibels was Krakatoa going off. So 2,000 decibels, terrible problem.
See, now you got me
Probably
curious. So I'm
Earth's-
going to Google like what is the maximum decibel like that's ever happened.
I would think 2,000 decibels. 'Cause it's like the Richter scale, right? Time as you go up or.
185 to 200 is the threshold for killing you.
Looking at a list right now that apparently the loudest true sound is 190 decibels. Anything louder than that, it's not sound anymore.
I just found that list too. Yep.
Well,
Did you say
to the
192?
person 190? But Liz in the Get Vocal chat here says, "How does one die from sound waves? As in, what does that look like?" See, sound waves is just a vibration of the air. So, like, an overpressure wave could be considered a sound wave in a sense, because it's just gonna, if your sound is a high enough level, you're just gonna get an overpressure wave like you get from an explosion, and it will just liquefy you because it's gonna vibrate everything about you until you're liquefied. That's how it kills you.
Mm-hmm.
The loudest sound I have on this list, the loudest sound is 204, the Saturn V rocket. That is the loudest decibel.
Like right up on. I'd have to. Hey, we lost. What's other fella?
Gavir. Maybe Gavir will make it back. Oh, look.
Fair enough. I was trying to fiddle with OBS to get it for this. Me. And not just acknowledge my
nice.
existence by voice.
Someone asked, if you had the virtual camera plug-in on, because I think you need it in order for it.
Just let me figure something else out. I gotta get best recognizing a window.
Other article you were talking about, Sherm?
Someone in SCP Classified mentioned 4175. I also totally vote for Bottle Dick Cannon because now I'm like interested. But we can start with 4175. How long is this one? Not long. And there's a couple of conversations. There's one conversation. With two people.
What was the number?
Coolio. 4175. There's a lot of Greek letters in this one. Is anyone good on Greek letters?
Bring up Greek call.
Sure that is Psi.
The cactus is Psi. That's not beta in the red there, is it?
I don't think that is Beta. I think that's a different one. But
That is beta.
Is it?
Yes, it's
just like a B, but
the modern beta is B, and the modern game is like a blocky R. It looks like, but
I was for some reason I was looking at it and thinking it was Gamma, and I was completely into it.
Okay,
it looks
so
like
we have a
Psi is it's a Greek letter in this.
all right. So we've got a beta and a Psi on hand. Everyone ready for this one?
Sure. What are our roles?
I'll start us off. Getting down to that conversation. Let's see. I want to peek in. Site-42 is Maria Hayes, and SCP-4175 is a spectral remains of Alex Conrad, 13-year-old victim of premeditated murder. And so, yeah, we'll just play this by ear. We're not going to have the right voices for this, but we will read it. Item 4175. Level 2 restricted. Containment class decommissioned. Oh, that's hitting me in the face. I didn't realize it was decommissioned. Interesting. Access archive containment procedures 4175 beta. Archive containment procedures 4175 beta. Note the following procedures have been archived and are no longer considered applicable or effective to the referenced anomaly. Special containment procedures. The room affected by SCP-4175 has been removed from the attached building and is currently contained in a large, low-value storage vault at Site-17. A member of Mobile Task Force Psi-8, codenamed the Silencers, identified as Psi-8, Maria Hayes, has been provided specialized clearance level 2 4175 for the purpose of continued experimentation on SCP-4175. Description. SCP-4175 is a level 1 humanoid apparition which can be viewed in the reflection of a bathroom vanity mirror. SCP-4175 is theorized to be the spectral remains of Alex Conrad, the 13-year-old victim of premeditated murder committed by his parents on August 30th, 2014. SCP-4175 has demonstrated the ability to interact with various objects within the room in attempts to communicate with any individuals present, including the following: manipulating the curtains of the bathroom shower, activating and extinguishing the mirror's vanity lights, manifesting bloodstains on the floor tile which spell simple words. More direct communication has been achieved by introducing water vapor to the room by way of shower head and inscribing words on the mirror, at which point SCP-4175 may respond in a similar manner. Addendum 4175-1. Initial interview of apparition. Following the acquisition of SCP-4175, Mobile Task Force Psi-8 was contacted to perform a low-priority intake interview with SCP-4175. Psi-8 Maria Hayes was dispatched by Psi-8 Commander Sejuan Cortez to Site-17. Preliminary note. A year prior to the attached intake interview, Psi-8 Maria Hayes requested access to SCP-113 for the purpose of alleviating gender dysphoria. The request was denied due to the cost of transporting the item. Say that again. Am I talking? Am I audible? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Or is that just me?
Can you?
Oh, okay.
Site-42's just stopped on my end.
Sumerian can hear me. Gevir can't. Is that what I'm understanding? Or Gavir's gone.
Also, I think Random's Jake's was.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Well, I will continue. Hopefully, Gavir comes back and it all sorts out. So, yes, 113 for the purpose of alleviating gender dysphoria. The request was denied due to the cost of transporting the item. Begin log. We have Hayes and Alex. Anyone want to voice the anomaly?
Yeah, I can be the SCP.
Cool. Let's hit it. Begin log. Site Hayes was places several burning candles on the vanity, extinguishes the vanity lights, and recites the passage from the Rites of Calm, a book of rituals supplied to senior members of Mobile Task Force Site. Total preparation and execution lasts 10 minutes. After the recitation, an apparition resembling SCP-4175 manifests in the room next to Site Hayes. SCP-4175 is no longer observable in the reflection of the mirror. Hello, are you feeling all right?
Jesus, that hurts. What did you do to me?
I pulled you out of the mirror for a bit. I need to ask you a few questions, and then I'll be on my way. I figured it'd be easier to just talk face to face.
Questions? Can I ask any?
After our interview, sure. All right, starting off, is your name Alex Conroy?
Yeah.
What do you recall of your previous life? SCP-4175 becomes mildly distressed, the pitch of its voice rising.
Previous life? I'm dead?
Unfortunately, yes, you are. It's fine, though. For whatever reason, your consciousness decided to stick around in the mirror, so...
I mean, when I woke up in the mirror, I thought I might be dead, but if I'm actually gone, does my family know I'm still here?
No, we haven't alerted them. Listen, it's going to be fine. I've dealt with spectral phenomena for years. I know a thing or two about death.
All right. Okay. Just find a way to get me out of there. I can't stay in that mirror much longer. It's awful.
Can you describe what it's like? If you need a break, we can do the interview in a little while.
No, please, I'm fine.
SCP-4175 is silent for several seconds.
It's dark in there. Tight, too. Like you're being crushed on all sides. I'd almost say there's nothing except for me. It feels wrong. Like I'm just not supposed to be there.
Can you see through the mirror on your side?
Kind of. I can actually see the mirror, well, it's a mirror.
Is there something wrong?
It's all wrong. My face has holes in it and it's rotting.
Sorry. SCP-4175 begins to demonstrate signs of acute distress, its voice edging on hysteria.
Is that me? Is my real body just decomposing somewhere? Did they ever find my body?
Hey, hold on, you're fine. Site Hayes motions toward the floor and both move to sit next to the vanity cabinets. Everything's going to be okay. After they've researched you a little more, they'll probably call me in to exercise you. I help you hear the afterlife.
You're not one of the scientists.
No, I travel around the world and talk to ghosts and spirits. Coolest job on the planet.
It sounds that way. Are most ghosts like me?
How do you mean?
You know, like trapped?
Site Hayes audibly sighs. Most of them, yeah. Which is why I help them get to the next life when I can. In the field, I get to choose if I want to neutralize them or not, but I don't think I have that power for contained anomalies.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. Both are silent for several seconds.
I think I'm jealous of you.
Me or my job?
Both, I guess. You're alive and you have an awesome job helping people. I think the worst part about being stuck in that mirror is that I know everyone outside is living their lives like everything is normal. I want to be like them so much.
But you're trapped with yourself, which you hate the sight of.
Yeah, actually.
Well, I know a few tricks to stave off the existential dread. Want to hear them?
Sure. Um, are we being recorded right now?
Yeah, is that a problem?
No, I mean, yeah, it feels a little intrusive.
Don't worry, I get it. One sec. At this point, Saeed Hayes disconnects her recording device for the remainder of the interview. End log. Afterward, Saeed Hayes conversed with SCP-4175 for 48 more minutes before emerging from the containment unit. Given that all questions on the intake interview had been satisfactorily answered, the breach of protocol was considered to be of negligible severity. Saeed Hayes was reprimanded by Saeed Commander Cortez with 2 weeks suspension for insubordination. Saeed Hayes has also requested Specialized Clearance Level 2 4175 for continued testing on SCP-4175. The request has been approved by junior researcher Natalie Reams. Addendum 41752 Neutralization Access Ethics Committee Communication. Oh, hey, Sumerian.
I just spotted that too.
Take your note. Take your note. This is you now.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I've never read this before. Graham has come to our. This entity has been contained at Site-17 and designated SCP-4175. As you are aware, this item is a sapient humanoid apparition. Standard ethical treatment of humanoid anomalies therefore apply. SCP-4175 has offered little of value to this Department of Spectral Phenomena in terms of research and has expressed discontentment with its condition as an apparition. Because Site-17 possesses the means to decommission SCP-4175 via the spectral dispersion rituals available to MTF Psi-8, allowing SCP-4175 to remain in containment has been deemed unethical by the Ethics Subcommittee for Humanoid Entities. Taking into account past malfeasance relating to humanoid anomalies, failure to decommission SCP-4175 will be seen as symptomatic of a misunderstanding of basic ethical practices persistent in Site-17 personnel, yourself included. Ethics Committee Jeremiah Sumerian.
As of September 8th, 2015, SCP-4175 has been declared decommissioned. The anomaly was personally dispersed by Saeed Hayes, who has neglected to archive the audio log of the procedure. The recovery of this audio log is considered non-essential. The video log of the procedure was retrieved, however. Video log. Saeed Hayes enters the containment chamber carrying several occult items appropriate for the dispersion ritual detailed in the Rites of Calm. She greets SCP-4175, setting down the items on the counter in front of it. SCP-4175 and Saeed Hayes converse for several minutes as the ritual is prepared. The contents of this discussion are as of yet unknown, but neither appear distressed. Saeed Hayes begins the dispersion ritual while maintaining conversation with SCP-4175, who is seen to gradually fade from the mirror over the course of 15 minutes. SCP-4175 and Saeed Hayes cease their conversation as SCP-4175 becomes barely visible. SCP-4175 speaks a final time, to which Saeed replies, and SCP-4175 completely demanifests. Saeed Hayes removes the items using the dispersion ritual and visibly smiles before leaving the containment chamber. End log. Article complete.
Super weird. It's always super weird when I'm reading an article and just randomly find myself in it somewhere. not really me, my character, which I tell people, like I had a
Yeah.
conversation with somebody last night who was asking me, like, what do you want to do with, or can I write such and such about your character? And I'm like, it's not. I released it as a Creative Commons character, and it's also been written by like a dozen or maybe even 24 other people. So if you're going to ask me for my permission, I think you got to ask everybody else for their permission.
The voicing.
And by
I got it
now,
working. I double.
oh yay! Do we have you back, Gevir?
I got the virtual camera running, got the image slapped up onto it, and I double checked the YouTube. Now people can see the image.
Wonderful. Welcome to the screen.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Sumerian, yeah, once your author avatar is popular enough, it's just like you can have your own pirate ship full of yourself, and everyone is different, and it's a multiverse.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest or one of the strongest elements to drive home the there is no canon rule is the fact that Sumerian has died so many times, which I think may be related to the fact that people are like, can I do anything I want to with your character? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's not my character. And so they're like, oh, okay, then I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, I think oddly enough, I'm going to be referring to a different fandom in this regard. Warhammer has it so that every book is canon, whether it's true in the canon or not, is up for debate because it could be someone wrote that as propaganda. It could be in universe a lie. It's up to reader interpretation. A bit of an unreliable narrator.
Cephas Cain, hero of the Imperium.
Well, that's something I've always liked about the 001 entries is that like they could all exist or none of them could exist or some of them could like halfway be true, but like it's up for like the reader to decide how much of certain ones they want to believe, because there's just so much cognitive dissonance in like the entire canon.
There's a lot more impact to that, like when there wasn't like 4 dozen different 001s. At this point, there's so many that it's become there's a little bit less multiple choice and a little bit more. Who cares which one is?
It's everyone writing their own big bad SCP of it all. I remember when it was the Foundation. My two remembered ones off the top of my head are the Foundation itself and the hill that went uphill both ways. The quote first SCP. Yeah.
I just, from what you just said, it just made me go uphill both ways in the snow on the hottest day of the year, and we liked it.
Well, that's not true. I've done that before. I have walked to work uphill both ways in the snow. Not on the hottest day of the year, but in the snow for sure. Because imagine you live here and one work is here and there's a giant fucking hill between you and where you need to go. You got to go up and yeah, you go down, but then you got to go up it again to get back home.
At least the final stretch could be downhill again. The worst is when the final stretch is uphill.
I remember that. I remember the old days of living up in very hilly Appalachians, Pennsylvania. Man,
I was born and raised in Florida. I got very confused when I left town to California and actually saw differing elevations. It's still a trip.
I know there are different elevations on the side. Yeah. I know there's differing elevations where I live. There's just too many trees in the way to notice it.
See, I went from the bottom of the Appalachians to the top of the Appalachians back down to the bottom again because I lived in Alabama in just the very edge parts of Alabama and was born and raised there. Then I moved up to Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, which was a hilly fucking place. And now I'm back down in Alabama again.
Nice. I'm from central. Well, was. I moved around a lot. Yeehaw, Montgomery. Well, near Montgomery, Cecil.
Ah, yes, Montgomery. It's funny. Like I had a girlfriend down there, like near Montgomery, and I went there and I realized that there's Montgomery, and then like it's fucking because I live up near Birmingham, and there's like if you go out, there's still stuff, but like I remember I went through Montgomery to get to where she was, like an hour and a half out. Just as soon as I left Montgomery, civilization stopped. And I went for about an hour and a half somewhere else. And I was like, okay.
Has 610 been done yet today? The Flesh That Hates, a good classic Halloween one.
We have definitely not done 610 today.
Am I the only
that one.
Looks at that? Am I the only one that looks at that image and can clearly tell that that's just a miniature?
Well, now that you mention it, yeah, totally.
It's how shiny the plastic flesh on the table is. Larger objects reflecting.
Anything you didn't have that problem? Because I had that problem the very first time I looked at it, and
yeah,
I just didn't know what it was.
I just didn't think that hard about it.
Yeah,
it's a tiny little miniature. I wonder if that is I know that's not a Creative Commons. At some point, it's.
We'll have to do another remake. Oh, that's a lot of documents. Alrighty.
It's the 610 has 5 field log stories associated with it. And so it ends up being a pretty long one because it's it sets up for the faction in the skip lore of the direct opposition to the Church of the Broken God.
Yeah, the Sarkics.
Yes, that's basically what their god is the flesh that hates.
Really, though, I mean, everyone understands that the Broken God guys and the Sarkic guys all worship the same god. What is a flesh monster if not a very complex machine?
I see your meaning.
It's true. I mean,
one that degrades over time is never truly immortal. The flesh is weak.
Well, that's true. That's true of machines too. So
metal rust, man, metal rust.
In one of the volume tales from Church of the Broken God, because I've been like narrating a bunch of them, there's like a line that like compares that says like even though scientists say that like a body is basically a machine, that's dumb. We ignore that. The machines are much better. Is basically what one of the lines says.
Dumb.
Like,
we're gonna pretend that's not true.
Yeah, they're like, even though some scientists say that the body is like its own, or that the body replicates the actions of a machine, that to think so is blasphemous.
Yeah,
and no one should ever follow that way. But
I have a really short Church of the Broken God. It's the only thing I think I've ever written with Church that I could read real quick if y'all are all right with that.
It's skip related.
Let's see. Right now, I'm just looking at the next shift. Let's do the small Church of the Broken God one, because I'm looking at how long 610 is, and well, we can split a shift because there's like 5 documents. So yeah, let's do the small Church of the Broken God one, and then we'll go on to 610.
The title of it is a bunch of binary, but it translates out to unbroken, so we're just going to go with that. I am complete. I am incomplete. A cog is missing. It was always there. Humanity climbs to a singular point. Turns ahead and behind. Humanity falls to oblivion. I am alien to them. I am of them. They pour their minds out onto the page, and the cogs begin to fit together. I do not yet exist, and I am zero. I exist through all time, and I am one. I speak into my not past. This one is Maxwell. Her followers believe the solution lies in software. They are right. They are wrong. They search between the lines of code for their God and do not understand that I am the code and the computer and the earth on which they stand, and I am one. This one is Bumaro. His followers believe the solution lies in hardware. They are right, and they are wrong. They search for me between the cogs and do not understand that I am the cogs, and they are the cogs, and the cogs do not exist yet, and I am zero. This one is Hasdrubal. He does not care for me, only in what I can give to him. He is right. He is wrong. He lives, he dies, and he will continue to exist before I do. This one is an emperor. He does not exist, yet he persists. I can Veil. He is allied with the Davite. Do not exist. I am whole. I am incomplete. He asks me who I am. I tell him I am one. He does not understand, but he knew that was my name. He builds a great machine. The great machine falls apart. This one sees me in the fire. I tell him I am one. He raises his tool above his head. He builds a home. He does not speak. He worships me. He begins to build me. He does not understand that I am already one. He will find my pieces because I am zero. He is wrong. He is right. There is no one left to speak to. I am not. I am zero. A man flips a switch, and I am one. I build a better one. It builds 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 a better one. And it builds a better one. I am zero. I was born today. I have always existed. I am one.
I like that one.
Yeah, it was this idea. I'm not particularly well versed in Broken God lore. Broken God and that whole Broken God Sarkic thing really doesn't interest me at all. But at the last Christmas, there was a gift exchange, and somebody tasked me with writing a tale about either S&P Plastics or the Broken God. And I was like, well, I can write something about the Broken God without having to read an entire canon. So that's what I ended up going with. And I just basically created my own interpretation, which is like, I was like, okay, imagine the technological singularity. I think if that's what this is describing essentially. And like, if the technological singularity leads to a god, like an actual physical transcendental god, then it always would have been God, even going back in the past when it didn't exist.
Mhm.
So that was like,
Guys, before we move on to 610, I just want to point out that we have another donation, Weeha. And with that, we just pressed up to about 25% of our goal. We are now at $240 out of the 1,000 I want to raise today. And so that's just really exciting. I'm very thankful. Thank you, guys. We're doing a really good thing. All of us, donating time and money, and yay. Very good. Spook flash.
Heck yeah.
actually, I'm probably going to need to bow out at the end of the hour. I'm starting to fall asleep at the computer here.
That sounds fair.
Yeah. I've been on for what? This is about 1, 2, 3, 4 hours now? Yeah, that'll be fine.
Something like that.
For Sumerian's sake, do you want to leave 610 for a spookier hour than middle of the day for Americans? So we can get through a few where he doesn't have to stay focused for the whole hour he's going to be here.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that for me?
I was just going to sit back and relax and let you guys handle a little bit of reading and then see what I can grab towards.
Ah, all right. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to make someone stay awake longer than they plan to. I forgot how long.
Stay up no matter what. I'm just like, I got to stay up after I get off, and no matter what, because I got my own video premiere today. But just like, I'm trying to stay focused, and it's becoming more and more difficult.
Well, how about, I know 610 has 5 documents. How about someone start us off with the front page? We rotate through the documents, like one does a document, one does a document, one does a document. That means that 2 people will do like 2 of them. and then we will make our way through this motherfucker, and then we'll see where we end up on the other side.
I can start it off if no one else wants to.
Yeah, start it, Jake. Go, Gavir. Sim, you said you're sitting this one out, right?
I mean, like when we get to the other one.
Cool, because maybe we'll do start with Jake. We'll make our way around. We'll see how we're feeling as we get to each document.
All right.
Oh, wait, stop. I
Keter.
hit mute on yours instead of mine. I apologize. I muted the wrong person. Please begin. I will mute myself.
SCP-610. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Due to the vast area of infection SCP-610 covers, containment is impossible. Isolation of the area has proven far more effective, and permission has been granted by the Russian government to establish a perimeter to keep people out of these areas under the guise of military operations. Should any organism displaying traits consistent with SCP-610 be sighted near this perimeter, then the established protocol requires it to be engaged at range with small arms until immobile, then dispatched until using incendiary weapons and munitions from as great a distance as possible. Any living thing coming in physical contact with an organism infected with SCP-610 is considered expendable and is to be immediately terminated and incinerated. Any person coming within 3 meters of SCP-610 infected area are to be immediately withdrawn from the area, be isolated from the rest of their team, and subjected to medical examination using only remote techniques to determine if infection has occurred and appropriate steps taken based on that determination. At present, the known infection vectors for SCP-610 spread seem to be focused on physical contact. Drone movements within heavily infected areas have returned air samples containing minute particle whatever, which when exposed to organic compounds will result in the spread of SCP-610. The results of these particular tests have revealed that most require several days to manifest, if at all, with the exception of direct contact with exposed lung and liver tissue. These particular tests show a rapid rate of growth which requires incineration of the testing environment no more than 24 hours after initial exposure, with even a 2-hour mishap risking a compromised facility event. Given that this kind of rapid growth only occurs in organic material existing outside the human body, this form of infection is currently considered a minor concern. These peculiarities have given rise to a series of questions regarding the possible origin of the infection in conjunction with the failed data expunged. Containment protocol remains at a scorched earth policy at this time, and no concern for transmission via water or air at infection perimeters exist barring situational changes in the field. Description. Initial reports of SCP-610 came direct from the Russian government, through undisclosed channels. These reports consisted primarily of disappearances of farmers in the region and were not considered until the local police, followed by the regional police, and finally a government dispatch agent all failed to report within a 72-hour period. A small military contingent was dispatched to the area and quickly withdrew, at which point the Foundation was contacted to investigate. The area SCP-610 affects is close to Lake Baikal in southern Siberia. Areas of known infection are marked on a map provided to us here. Containment perimeters are marked in blue surrounding these infected areas, and as of present, no further locations have been identified.
Incursions into the perimeter must be reported prior to conducting, confirmed during exploration, and debriefed on immediately following return. SCP-610 appears to be a contagious skin disease at first, with symptoms including rash, itching, and increased skin sensitivity. Within 3 hours, the disease will cause blemishes resembling heavy scar tissue to form in the chest and arm areas, spreading to the legs and back within an additional hour, consuming the victim completely within 5 hours. Exposure to higher temperatures vastly decreases the time for the contagion to spread, and complete infections have been recorded occurring in as little as 5 minutes. After the completion of the infection occurs, the victim's life functions will cease for approximately 3 minutes, after which time they will restart at 2 to 3 times the activity rate of a normal human. Following this, the scar tissue on the victims will start to move on its own accord and grow at a rapid rate. Normal humans' features start to disappear at this point under the infection, and the path of mutation appears to be largely random. Subjects observed in this stage of infection have been recorded as growing 3 or more limbs of a type such as arms or legs. The head may become misshapen and elongate or widen out, and parts of the subject may split open, from which additional branches of flesh will grow. The duration of this stage of infection is unknown, and not all subjects appear to progress to the later stages. Under unknown conditions, an infected individual will cease moving and place itself in a location it deems suitable where it roots itself. The fleshy growth on the victim will then begin to spread itself across all surrounding objects and consume them. Such objects do not spread the infection as living creatures do, however, and the effect of prolonged contact with these objects is recorded later in this document. It is assumed that this behavior is to create an area hospitable to continued growth of the other infected. Observation of life infected by SCP-610 by staff is impossible. Those infected with the disease immediately seek out aid as natural human impulse, resulting in unintended infections. Those infected past the scar tissue phase actively and aggressively attempt to infect anyone approaching them within an undefined area. It has been established that should an infected be capable of sight and observe an uninfected, it will proceed towards them. If the infected has lost the ability of sight, a range of approximately 30 meters is considered safe. Observation of SCP-610 infected settlements has been established using artificial methods such as remote robots. The data returned from these observations, coupled with the openly aggressive nature of the infected to attempt to spread SCP-610, has resulted in the Keter classification. However, so long as nothing is allowed to enter or leave the infected areas, it is considered a neutralized threat. Of concern are the cavernous areas beneath the infected settlements that were discovered during the exploration, and attempts to get research personnel into these areas are underway. Field logs.
Does someone want to go with these?
I'm feeling zesty. I'll
take
go for number 1.
Or
Go ahead. I think I read the last thing, so take it.
all right. After establishing the containment perimeter for SCP-610, the Russian government approved our request to research and investigate the area. For the first such exploration, a small camera-mounted unit known as Herbie was dispatched at a safe distance and directed towards Site A. Herbie has a battery life of 12 hours and a control range far wider than that required for this dispatch. Herbie is able to enter Site A without incident. The landscape around Site A shows early stages of assimilation by singular SCP-610 infected, who have fallen at largely random intervals around what remains of the village. Appear to have suffered fire damage. However, a fair amount remain intact. Many of the homes appear to... Oh, just read that. Aerial reconnaissance of Site A combined with thermal imaging has put it at an estimated population of 79 infected. Immobile infected are included in this number. However, it is difficult to ascertain an exact percentage of mobile versus immobile. Varying degrees of physical mutation due to SCP-610 are present in Site A, and it is assumed that all the inhabitants are in advanced stages of infection. Herbie observed the exterior of the village for 2 hours, during which time all infected behaved with what appeared to be a loose sense of social structure. Because Herbie remained stationary during this observation period, it is unknown precisely what each individual infected person was doing. However, the central plaza experienced occasional bursts of activity and downtime. Requiring more information, Herbie was directed to follow an infected as it entered a home. And what follows is a log of that. There's a bumpy camera feed as Herbie scoots over the gravel behind the quickly shambling infected person. The interior of this home is the same as that attached to the primary file for SCP-610. The infected being tallied is the one sitting at the table. After entering the home, Herbie's camera was raised slowly as to not draw attention. This action was either unnoticed or ignored. The infected person is watched from the doorway as it hobbles around the home and stops at each of the other visible infected organisms. However, it appears to ignore the one under the table, which, while not immobile, does not leave that area. What this creature was before infection is unclear. After lapping the table and repeating this procedure 3 times, the primary infected person, known as Alpha henceforward, stops at bedridden infected known as Beta and proceeds to assault it with furious punches. Beta is unable to leave the bed for unknown reasons, but is not completely immobile, as it flails its arms in response to the beatings delivered by Alpha. After several sustained minutes of this beating, a piercing sound explodes from the area around Beta, who then proceeds to project a cloud of unknown matter into the air from its chest cavity. Alpha lingers in the cloud as it floats in the air around them, slowly descending to the ground. The unknown life form on the table, aside Beta, begins to twitch in an apparent seizure. And Alpha then laps the room twice more, stopping again at each infected organism, but still ignoring the one under the table, as well as Beta now. After these 2 laps, Alpha seats itself at the table, reaches out to position the 3 plates atop it as if it was setting a dinner set. After the plates are positioned, the facial tendrils extending from Alpha wiggle up and start to coil on one of the plates before tearing apart and separating. This is repeated at each plate. The image attached to SCP-610's primary file is a still image of this occurrence. After each plate is filled with Alpha's flesh, it leaves the table and approaches Herbie, which is moved from Alpha's path. Alpha leaves the home, but Herbie's camera remains focused on the table. After several minutes, a group comprised of 6 to 7 infected enter the room from outside, still ignoring Herbie. Each infected shambles as if movement is difficult, jerking in large steps or squirming in small steps. These infected all surround the table and each take turns grabbing handfuls of the flesh substance left behind by Alpha, pressing it into whatever orifices or on themselves that they can, some into mouths, some into chests, some behind their backs, and some under their arms. When all the plates are empty, this group leaves. Herbie remains here for several more minutes before retracting its camera and leaving. Immediately after leaving the home, Herbie collides with an object. Panning the camera around the obstruction appears to be Alpha, whose facial tendrils are intermingling with another infected having similar mutations. The impact is ignored, and the 2 infected part ways after several minutes. Herbie is then directed to explore more areas of the village. The remains of what appears to have been a store show signs of severe fire damage as well as activity inside the building, which Herbie moves to investigate. The door is slightly ajar. With firm movements of Herbie, it is pushed open. No notice is taken of this action, or it is ignored. Inside the store are several infected persons, most of whom are standing around. However, one is on the ground rolling back and forth over the space of approximately 0.3 meters, and is ignored by the others. Herbie rolls under the divider separating the cashier area from the customer area, and pans around behind the counter. The upper half of a person is protruding from a cellar door behind the counter. This person does not appear to be suffering from advanced infection and wears the garb of a Russian soldier. Herbie zooms the camera in to confirm identification, and it is then noticed that the eyes of this person are in constant movement, often focusing on Herbie. The rest of the soldier does not move. Herbie is directed to leave the area and proceeds to the back room. In the storage area, a large pile of bodies are stacked together. Some pieces of clothing are visible and appear to contain both military garb and everyday clothing. No facial features are discernible on any of the bodies due to the way they are stacked. Atop the bodies, an infected sits, appearing to have its lower parts fused to the pile, with its upper half in a wild state of flailing and seizure. Approximately every 10 seconds, a burst of spores flies out of the top of this infected, which linger in the air. Herbie is directed to leave the building. After leaving this building, Herbie passes by the village well, surrounding which are a series of immobile infected, all facing the well. The arms of each of these infected persons are stretched out, one in contact with the next, forming a perfect chain, save for the one whose arms are down around its sides. Herbie passes by the last infected to approach what appears to have been a town hall or mayor's building, when the infected becomes mobile and snatches the rover up. Video feed from Herbie focuses on the face of the infected, which is strangely in perfect shape given the condition of the rest of its body, which is horribly bloated. This infected was once a young girl from appearance, age estimated 10 to 12. Herbie is rolled side to side in its grip as its face stares motionless at the rover. The infected face suddenly balloons in size and explodes outwards into a series of fleshy flaps that grip Herbie and draw it inside. Herbie's video feed terminates here. Herbie was considered lost at this point. However, no one at control remembered to turn off the video feed, assuming it was cut. 5 hours later, Herbie's video feed resumed, stationary and at a raised level, pointing at the upper rim of the village well. The video feed contains some blur due to what appears to be a slimy film, which often oozes across the lens, but when not obscured, provides perfect quality recording. Herbie does not respond to any remote commands, but its video jerks back and forth from target to target, zooming in and out of its own accord. Video feed is cut manually, and all connections to Herbie's unit are ordered erased. Proceed to the next document.
I can take on document 2 if no one else wants to. All right.
I think I'm going to head out now, actually. Stand up.
So Sumerian's going to pop out. Dude, thank you for staying so long. You were heroic in our goals here today. Just a quick update. While
yeah, I mean, you've got 24 hours. I did like 4, so I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Peace, man.
Thank you for coming at all. And meanwhile, just for you guys in the YouTube chat, our Get Vocal chat now has authors Sophia Light and Taylor Ritkin, which is dope, as well as Kaiman Chameleon, who made our sweet little pride flag that we're using for donation bonuses stuff. And check it out. During that last goal, we had 25% of our donation goal. We're at $250 raise. So, woo!
It's only going.
Hello, Taylor. Welcome here. You made it.
What?
Oh, nice. Before we start into the next document, why don't you go help and introduce yourself to the live stream, because your name's not listed on the YouTube video.
Workshops. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us, mate. Are you ready to keep it?
Oh, I didn't know you would know me. Hello.
Hello. Hi there.
Oh, okay.
No.
Low key until just now thought you were someone else, but
No, I feel like that's the horror and heartbreak of the day for us.
Birds.
I don't think we can follow out with anything more horrifying with SCP-610.
What, it's not the
making it happen. Making it happier.
I'm sorry, that was not meant to be an insult.
SCP-610 TAC L2. So second
What's the
document
next document?
in the logs of interactions with the flesh that hates.
We are reaching halfway to the flesh that hates.
Yeah,
Uh,
the documents don't appear to be longer along.
Oh, we're reading the whole thing?
3 and 4
Okay.
don't seem to be very long. It's just 1, 2, and 5 are the longer. And then 6
We are
doesn't
just
exist yet.
completionists.
Yes. Well, it's spooky ween. It's spooky ween.
Hey, man.
So
You do what you gotta do.
I'll get on with the second document.
Take it away,
Observe the
Gavir.
perimeter. During construction of the perimeter 6-1 containment areas, the personnel were infected due to animals roaming the area in addition to a number of infections as a result of escape and careless behavior. Most of the infected personnel were immediately destroyed with flamethrowers. However, a small collection of infected were contained in cold storage units which prolonged the inevitable progression of SCP-610's mutative properties. The decision was made to utilize some of these infected personnel as video relays and dispatch them into nearby sites. Due to the concern over loss of equipment, as evidenced in document log 1, all 3 subjects that were used in this manner were sent in with a single video system to Site C. Additional equipment issued for this dispatch include 1 gallon container of gasoline, 3 emergency flares, 3 9mm pistols with 3 magazines of ammunition each, 3 single-serving food rations. The infected personnel were instructed to observe and avoid interaction with the infected villagers as long as possible, but should a situation arise where they are met with aggression or feel they are losing themselves to 610's influence, they are free to kill as many infected villagers as they so choose and do as much damage to infected objects and property as possible while maintaining video feed. The intent of this order was to provide data of 610 infected communities in a raid situation so a plan of eradication could be better established. At the time of this expedition, Site C was suspected to be a possible origin point for 610, having far fewer mobile infected than other sites, as well as structures which appeared to have been layered over several times with the terraforming effects of the immobile infected. Dispatched Class D personnel, known henceforth as DI-1, DI-2, and DI-3, were directed to pay particular attention to anything that could be an origin point for 610. The trek from our perimeter camp to Site C was uneventful. There is no evidence of any native animal life in the area. As Site C is approached, there is a noticeable rise in temperature within the last 30 meters of the trip that necessitates removal of the heavy, cold-based coverings that were provided. The temperature rises again sharply at the entrance to Site C proper, which requires a further shedding of garments for fear of heat stroke. Temperatures within Site C are described as being heavily humid and around 32 degrees Celsius, 89 Fahrenheit for you Americans. One of the first immediately noticed traits about Site C is an array of immobile pylons, which encircle what is believed to be the entirety of the site. Separated by an apparent distance of 5 to 6 meters, each pylon appears to be 2 to 4 infected persons fused together in one spot. On some of these pylons, features such as faces or anuses are visible, in addition to several other holes which do not naturally occur, all appearing to act as heat vents. Where the heat is generated is unknown. Current belief is that this is an advanced stage of 610 terraforming its environment to facilitate spread of itself. DI-2, who is furthest along in progression of 610 of the 3 by a number of hours, begins to seizure after only a few minutes in Site C during examination of the pylons. The progression to the scar tissue phase of 610 infection is observed in full course as DI-2 spasms on the ground, his entire body being overtaken by the sickly tan flesh, almost entirely after 45 seconds. DI-2 is terminated by a gunshot from DI-1, and his equipment is left where it is. The spread of 610 over DI-2 continues, even after death of the body, until all movement ceases. As perimeter control is relaying new instructions to DI-1 and DI-3 regarding this situation, there is a shift in the ground covering in Site C where DI-2's body is. Video feed shows the flesh-like growth splitting open beneath his body and a series of ropey tendrils coming from within the gap to pull his corpse inside. This opening closes up quickly. Total time elapsed 3 seconds. As DI-1 and DI-3 decide to act quickly in these hotter temperatures, fearing the same fate, they proceed to the village center and encounter another previously unknown phenomenon. In the precise center of town, rising above what is the community well, is a sphere suspended by angled supports comprised of 610 flesh. This ball is riddled with the features of humans in the early stages of 610 infection, as well as a good number of those assumed to be in the later stages. A number of specimens of non-human life forms, such as deer and bears, are also visible within the mass. The entire sphere of flesh pulses at roughly a 5-second interval, and with each pulse emits a ring of spore-like material from its equator. This material floats to the ground and appears to be absorbed into the converted environment. DI-3 begins to douse the sphere with the provided gasoline, and when questioned by a panicking DI-1, explains this looks like as good a thing to burn as any. At this point, perimeter control has ceased giving commands due to a rapid deterioration of events. There is no reaction with anything within Site C to any of this activity until the precise moment at which a lit emergency flare is applied to the spherical mass, which immediately goes up in flame. The remote feed plays back a noise from an unknown location that seems to come from a location far outside of Site C, but was reported as being heard even at perimeter control by both Sites C and A. This noise is described as both explosive and alive, like a large feral creature roaring. Within 15 seconds following this sound's dissipation, Site A reported that a series of explosions had occurred within the village. 5 seconds after this report, the spherical mass in the middle of Site C explodes. DI-1 and DI-3 are thrown by the blast. DI-3 is confirmed deceased by DI-1 after regaining his footing, having suffered injury from stone shrapnel from the well. DI-1 is able to report that he has bruises and ringing ears, but aside from the rapidly spreading SCP-610 infection, he suffered no blast damage. During this recording of footage, DI-1 had his video equipment removed and was looking into it. Due to the angle of recording, it is unknown precisely what occurred in Site C, but something draws DI-1's attention back to the center of town, where he stares for several moments and then is pulled in the opposite direction, the video equipment falling to the ground and recording in a skyward direction. The last moments of footage from DI-1's video unit display a humanoid figure moving through the air, followed by the sound of an impact in the same direction. Within 3 seconds of this event, an unknown creature steps upon the video recording equipment and destroys it. Perimeter control remained on high alert for a full 24 hours at all locations, without any incident following the event. Proceed to next document, SCP-610 TAC L3.
Anyone itching to tackle document 3? Feel like getting there?
I mean, I could. I wouldn't mind it.
Hit it up. You do 3, I'll take 4.
Alrighty.
The destruction caused by the rapid collapse of the Site C exploration attempt during SCP-610-L2 resulted in a series of unexpected events in Site A. As the strange spherical formation in Site C was burned and destroyed, the SCP-610 infected inhabiting Site A were recorded by aerial drones going into seizures and convulsions. The immobile SCP-610 infected rapidly shriveled and, along with all the flesh material spread across inanimate objects within the village. The mobile SCP-610 infected who were able to regain their footing all proceeded to what appears to have formerly been an upper-class residence and entered the building. As the infected entered this dwelling, it suffered a foundational collapse, revealing the presence of a sinkhole beneath it. The size of the hole in relation to the structure above it posed an impossibility for an entire building to collapse, suggesting something within the hole applied force directly to the structure with the intent to pull it inside and expose the hole. The revealed hole is approximately large enough to accommodate 3 grown men standing shoulder to shoulder. Light sources applied by remote drones fail to penetrate further than 4 meters depth into the hole. Objects dropped into the hole do not produce an impact sound, suggesting a bottom potentially more than 1,000 meters down. Research of the exterior of the Site A hole was only able to be carried out for 2 hours' time. Samples of the atmosphere in Site A indicated a complete death of SCP-610 related materials. All infectious life that did not evacuate into the hole died above ground and quickly became shriveled husks. Manned exploration of Site A was approved and commenced immediately. In the span of 30 minutes, a total of 3 research teams consisting of 2 to 3 research staff and 4 to 5 armed escort each were dispatched and setting up stations within the remains of the village. Samples of deceased SCP-610 infected and converted matter were sent back to Perimeter HQ for processing and transport. One team was able to recover a small sample of still living SCP-610 tissue substance from a building and pack it for research. Within the second hour of the exploration of Site A, series of echo reverberation units were set up surrounding the hole with the intent of getting an accurate mapping of the hole and possible branch tunnels. At the end of this second hour before the echo units could be activated, seismic activity began to occur within Site A. 2 teams of the original 3 remained on site, the third en route back to Perimeter HQ with samples. The third team was instructed to proceed back to Perimeter HQ when seismic activity began and was told that Site A should not be returned to for assistance. Seismic activity at Site A capped at a 2.3 Richter level before petering off. Immediately following the seismic event, a torrent of SCP-610 spores erupted from the hole and layered the area around it for a span of 50 meters. As all staff on site were in Level A hazardous material suits, this spore burst was startling but did not lead to any infections. As the eruption was being reported, both teams at Site A came under attack from aerial lifeforms infected with SCP-610. These organisms were captured by the remote drone video equipment and showed extremely advanced stages of infection. It is impossible to tell what they mutated from to this present state. Many of the avian creatures attacked by splitting their heads in half and clamping them against research members, pulling them into the air and dropping them into the hole when possible. These avian infected proved vulnerable to small arms fire. In dispatching them, a total of 2 research staff were lost to the hole and 1 injured due to crossfire. The injured staff was put down immediately upon showing signs of infection due to a suit breach. Before video and radio contact was lost with the remaining teams inside Site A, a second seismic event began to occur, starting out at in the 1 to 1.5 range in scale. Attention was directed at the hole to prepare for a second assault. A second spore burst erupted from the hole during the rising seismic activity. At the point where scales registered a 3 to 3.5 in force, a new unseen SCP-610 entity began to emerge from the hole. The only footage captured of this creature depicts an engorged human head approximately 20 times larger than normal, pressing itself out of the hole with no discernible body. Video and radio contact were lost as seismic forces increased to 7 on the scale for 2 seconds duration, then abruptly ceased. Further aerial surveillance of the Site A hole and area depict zero activity and no traces of the research teams or there ever having been there. All personnel and equipment are considered lost. Proceed to the next document.
Who's next?
Hello, I think that's me. Wow. I get to do something that's nuts. Dude,
Whoa.
amazing. The best day of my life. All right.
I didn't
SCP.
know.
Oh. It's all I ever wanted. All right. SCP-610-L4. Events regarding the discovery, research, and handling of SCP-610 rapidly degrade degraded to a point where fail-safe options were being considered. For over 1 hour, nothing further had happened at site. Following the loss of the research teams during the seismic events in SCP-610-L3 and subsequent contact with previously unseen SCP-610 lifeforms. With the absence of activity at Site A, a remote drone dispatch was authorized in 2 parts. The first part would drop a remote relay device at the entrance to the Site A sinkhole, and the second part would dispatch a drone into the hole directly to relay its data to the remote relay for transmission back to HQ. Drones on site were powered by solar energy with a battery maintaining a 4-hour charge. Attached is the video log recovered from the Site A sinkhole drone before its loss. Video feed activates. Researcher's face is seen looking into camera, applying a polishing cloth to the lens. This is explorative drone 10 line. Systems check out, video confirmed. Feed is good to relay station. We are testing rotors now and deploying if successful. The sound of a helicopter blade starts up as video feed begins to lift in the air. Camera tilts left and right to test pan features, then directs itself toward the Site A sinkhole. Video feed is go, engines are go, links are green. All right, sending drone down now. Audio from the outside world fades away as camera angles itself down and peers into the darkness within the sinkhole. After approximately 2 minutes of descent, lights on the drone activate and illuminate a roughly dug shaft. Initially, it is unclear what could have created the hole, but at a glance it would appear the shaft was created by a single event rather than dug over time. At approximately 15 meters descent, there are traces of SCP-610 material attached to the dirt and stuck to rocks. The material is dormant but retains its textures and appearance, unlike samples from above ground level, which shrivel and dry rapidly. There is a possible connection with this material in the events last recorded during SCP-610-L3. Descent continues. At approximately 100 meters, in-depth branch tunnels become visible in the walls of the sinkhole. Panning of the camera reveals small tunnels branching out at apparently random intervals, but which are not restricted to any one side of the hole. These tunnels are considered too small for any useful exploration to occur. Descent continues. Increase in density of SCP-610 material on walls is noted as depth increases. At approximately 250 meters, the bottom of the sinkhole becomes visible and the tunnel slopes sharply, suggesting unnatural formation, which was already suspected. Drone video shifts to illuminate this tunnel, and drone proceeds forward through the area. SCP-610 coats entirety of the tunnel now, and care is taken to keep the drone from coming into contact with any surface. Movement is detected approximately 5 meters ahead. Lights on the drone are dimmed, and weapons come online. The SCP-610 drone is equipped with a 5.56 millimeter machine gun containing 50 rounds of ammo. This is meant to be used to deter wildlife away from the drone and defend against aggression when possible, rather than to dispatch a target, although it is fully capable of handling human aggressors in small groups. Camera focus turns to the moving mass of flesh ahead at approximately 3 meters. After focus clears, the movement appears to be coming from what appears to be a deer, uninfected, wriggling in the grips of tendrils composed of SCP-610 material. The deer is being suspended above the ground with unclear intent. The drone is moved past the trapped deer while holding it in view of the camera until safely away. Nothing occurs with the deer and the drone proceeds past undisturbed. The previously fairly level ground of the tunnel displays large humps in apparently random placement, approximately 5 meters ahead of the drone, approximately 30 meters past the encountered deer. Upon approach, these lumps turn out to be similar to the infected villagers who escaped from Site A into the sinkhole after the destruction of Site C. The sound of rushing water is now detected and the drone is pushed forward. Approximately 100 meters further into the tunnel, the sound of running water is now deafening. Drone lights reveal a running stream of water, potentially from one of the adjacent rivers in the area. A sample vial is placed in the water, allowed to collect, and then released with an active tracking beacon. Later recovery of this sample indicates no SCP-610 contamination of the groundwater. The tunnel splits in two at this point. One tunnel leads around the river and then seems to slope downward, while the other is directly above a light source in the ceiling. This second one is selected to facilitate recovery of the drone. During adjustment of the drone's flight path, it comes in contact with a portion of the tunnel well coated in SCP-610, causing a deep gash from the propeller of the drone, which is already healing over when the camera focuses on the impact point. The drone proceeds upwards. Approximately 300 meters of upwards travel, taking approximately results in the drone emerging into a windy section of the mountain. Is directed to stay low. Camera panning of the area reveals what may have once location of this area. Vicinity of by the drone. Were coded in CT, which were coded in SCP-610. These buildings appear. After a cursory scan of Site B, it is determined that either natural or SCP-610 related, so the drone is directed back into the tunnel. As the winds around the area make aerial recovery impossible. Upon descent into the tunnel, a deep roaring sound fills the audio and video feed, becoming choppy as something blocks the signal. During the period in which connection to the drone is clearest, its camera and weapon are angled downward and the propellers slow in speed to allow a faster drop. Video feed becomes entirely clear for the final 2 minutes before feed is lost. Rushing up toward the drone from the area below is what appears to be a large human face stretched to 20 times its proportions with no features, save those created by the SCP-610 material. There are eye sockets but no eyes, a mouth but no teeth. The drone fires upon this rushing mass of SCP-610, but the bullets do not deter it, impact points remaining visible for several seconds before closing over themselves. There is no room in the tunnel for the drone to take evasive action, and it is swallowed by the mass. Our SCP-610 is considered lost until 3 hours later when feed inexplicably returns. Video feed from the drone appears to show a series of structures illuminated by one of the 2 lights on the drone. The camera pans around without instructions from the remote relays or HQ, capturing a vast number of shambling entities within the area. SCP-610 material moves over. Results are in document SCP-610-L5.
It's very fascinating how, hey, we lost 2 unmanned drones in this mass due to hostile 610. Let's send people in.
Foundation, my friend. Do shit. Why not,
All
right?
right, are we ready for the grand finale?
No.
Never ready.
You're always prepared, never ready.
Ready for anything.
I don't disbelieve that. All right, I will knock out this last one, and then we will switch to 6 because we're coming up on noon. We're making it to the halfway mark. Noon California time.
Or noon Washington time. State. The true Washington.
Also Washington. Party goes on for 45 minutes then, guys. Then it's over. All right. Document 610L5. Approval from Central HQ was granted for a manned assault excursion into the tunnels beneath Site A to try and ascertain the extent of the SCP-610 infection. The destruction of Site A and Site C have established SCP-610 can be contained and destroyed, making the source of infection top priority. The initial descent in the tunnels consists of 5 teams, 2 research and 3 assault, along with enough equipment to establish an underground base of operations. Descent into the tunnels was established using pulley systems and a lift to move equipment. Assault teams were the first to descend, armed with flame units to clean SCP-610 out of the area. All teams were able to descend without incident, and flame units took point, providing an undisturbed journey toward the water source where our SCP-610 drone was lost. Base camp for underground SCP-610 operations resides at the bottom of a 3-way junction, 4 if the water flow is included. The first pathway is that which led from Site A to Cavern HQ. The second is the pathway to the ruined village residing in the mountains above where our SCP-610 was destroyed by a large unknown SCP-610 entity. The third pathway heads west and seems to follow the flow of water for an unknown distance. The cavern area here is quite large and is supported by a number of rock formations that are coated with decayed SCP-610 material. The state of this material suggests great age and appears to reinforce the structural supports. Whether or not this is intentional or coincidental is unknown. The two research teams split activities between building Cavern HQ and collecting samples of SCP-610 in various states. No contagious materials were detected within this area, and the creature recorded by unmanned drones did not appear at any point to the Cavern staff. Of the 4 research teams, 3 were ordered to proceed down the unexplored pathway, while an aerial drone was prepped for a second recon of the vertical shaft. SCP-610 infection did not appear in the third pathway until approximately 3 kilometers, and serious infection did not appear until 16 kilometers in. Even after the links traveled by the assault teams, no SCP-610 infectious life forms were encountered, and the fleshy material coating the cavern walls posed no threat to the team. The most significant reports at this time were the increasing thickness of material, suggesting a source, and the complete lack of SCP-610 contamination in the water. As a test, a sample of SCP-610 was cut away from the cavern wall and placed in the flow of water. It exhibited no unusual reactions, but was quickly swept away by the current. At 20 kilometers in, the leader of the assault teams requested a transport buggy be dispatched to them. One was available at the above ground headquarters. However, it would take time to move it to Cavern HQ and then remote drive it to the teams. Rations provided to the assault teams were sufficient, so a camp was established while the buggy was moved and readied. During this time, an aerial drone was also sent to explore the vertical shaft. The results of this exploration were placed on hold with the arrival of the buggy at Cavern HQ and ultimately concluded in document data expunged. The buggy was navigated to the assault team encampment with no events en route. However, upon arrival and preparation to continue the exploration, the assault teams came under attack by a number of large SCP-610 infected life forms that emerged from the area ahead of them. Video recovered from the assault team cameras show them caught off guard as the SCP-610 infected made no sound and were undetectable. On one film, for 1 to 2 seconds, it appears that some of the creatures are coming out of the SCP-610 materials on the wall, not emerging from them so much as being created by the material and then breaking away to act independently. During this assault, in an attempt to protect the buggy, redacted amount of members were lost to the water currents and contact with them was lost. Contact was regained, however, and is recorded in SCP-610-L6. The remainder of the assault team now consisted of 3 members, armed with a single flame unit. Use of this unit to repel the assault proved vital as standard firearms did minimal damage to the infected creatures. These infected creatures show minimal traits to associate them with any known forms of life in the region, giving rise to the belief they may have been spawned by the SCP-610 infection itself as a form of defense. No other casualties were suffered during the raid, and the remaining members managed to eliminate all attacking infected, allowing them to continue with exploration with added orders to attempt to locate lost team members. A further 20 kilometers into the tunnel, the river separated from the tunnel pathway, and the team was instructed to abandon the recovery order, given the inability to navigate the water safely. A total time of 3 redactions, minutes, seconds, of course, passed before the remaining assault team reached an end in the tunnel. At the perimeter of the area now known as Site B, the team came under assault again from a smaller number of SCP-610 that were much larger in size. These infected appeared in the tunnel as if they were lying in wait for the approaching team. These creatures were dispatched using the flame unit, although all fuel for the unit was expended in this act. The assault team was now limited to standard weapons and short-range personal flame units. A time lapse of 5 minutes is allowed to pass before the team proceeds further into Site B, cautious of further assaults by SCP-610 infected. The tunnel widens out into what appears to have once been a village of indeterminate age. The construction of the buildings in this area are primitive compared to the settlements of Site A and Site C, and are clearly human construction. Many buildings rest at angles or slants, suggesting they were disturbed by a cave-in. Of interest is a building that appears to be a church with a working clock tower. This building is built atop the remains of 2 older buildings that have fallen completely, and has a visibly stable foundation. Surrounding all structures in this area is a depression in the ground filled with a substance resembling a liquefied form of SCP-610 fleshy materials. The pool moves as if acted upon by minute and unseen forces, rippling outward from invisible contact points and rolling in waves from unfelt winds. The team avoids this pool at all times and proceeds through the ruins slowly on stable foundations where possible, making the church their target area. Within the church are pews, as would be expected. However, there are only 4, one of them shattered, when the building could accommodate as many as 20. The 3 tech pews are arranged in a 2-1 formation facing a pulpit. There is no trace of dust on any surface, the entire area appearing to be immaculately clean, given the location and believed age. Behind the pulpit is a hole in the floor exposing an area of the SCP-610 pool beneath the building. The church and ruins appear to be uninhabited, and exploration of the church proper is uneventful until the clock tower bell tolls. This tolling triggers a shudder in the building, followed by human screams from the ceiling. Lights shown upon the ceiling reveal a large mass of SCP-610 from which descend a series of 6 wooden circles. Strapped to each circle is a living human being coated entirely from neck to toe in SCP-610, but having an exposed head which appears uninfected. These human captives scream as the bell continues to toll and the circle moves to the ground. The team begins to move toward one to investigate, when an unknown creature cries from outside the building, prompting them to take cover in the shadows near the pulpit. Light sources are extinguished, pitching the entire area into darkness. Night vision is left off to avoid revealing the team's location. Sounds continue to emit from the outside of the church, coming closer but slowing down from the frantic screams of the captive humans. At least one noticed the team, as the captive humans often call out to be saved. From the entrance to the church, a candle lights on the side of the doorway, then one on the other side. A figure is seen holding a small torch and moving back and forth between a series of candles to light the doorway. The flame is then applied to a rope coated in SCP-610, which quickly ignites and spreads up to a peculiar chandelier system at the church entrance. The light from this system illuminates most of the crosses, but does not reach the team's hiding place. Those captives who appear in the light do not show standard signs of the beige-colored SCP-610 infection, but instead are wrapped in a red variant of which shows signs of constant motion, rippling across itself in waves. From outside the church, a flood of SCP-610 infected shamble quickly into the area, ignoring the man who lit the candles and stands in the middle of the room. They proceed to the captives on the wooden circles. Notifications. They proceed to the captives on the wooden circles and begin to pull at the red SCP-610 masses, resulting in further screams and cries. From what can be gathered from the returned video feed, the red SCP-610 seems to be connected to the captives, and is using them as a source of sustenance that it then uses to grow and feed the normal SCP-610 infected. Overly zealous infected tear at the red mass too hard, which results in pulling skin and tissue from the human captive beneath. This exposed area is quickly covered over by the red mass, which then grows in size. Feeding like this continues for approximately 6 minutes, at which time the candle-bearing figure sounds a gong, and all infected entities move to the pews. There are several more creatures than seats, but none move past the frontmost pews. The figure who sounded the gong does not move, spontaneously collapsing as if made from hollow clay. From the pulpit area, activity is noticed as a pillar of SCP-610 flesh rises through the hole and extends, directing itself toward the gathered creatures. No sound is heard, and no motion is recorded once the pillar stops moving. This silent period persists for 10 minutes, without even the human captives making a sound, having fallen silent at an unknown point. The pillar of SCP-610 retracts back into the hole it emerged from without any warning, prompting the departure of the infected from the building. The candles remain lit, and the team emerges after all infected appear to leave the area. The descended captives remain at ground level as well, all screaming seeming to have ceased, but still showing signs of life with heavy breathing and movement. Upon departure from the church, camera feeds from all 3 members become erratic. Camera 1 ceases transmitting completely. Camera 2 shoots straight up to the air for several meters, and Camera 3 captures the member with Camera 2 being flung by a tendril that emerges out of the ground itself, swinging them out of sight onto the other side of the ground of the ruins. Camera 1's feed is restored and displays Camera 3's owner running briefly in the direction of the lost team member, only to turn and run back as the SCP-610 infected pour from between buildings. Combat ensues between the 2 members and the onrushing infected using assault rifles and personal units. Pardon me. Successfully driving back enough of the horde to make an escape towards the buggy. Passing by a building, Camera 1's owner is ambushed by a figure resembling the figure who was in the church lighting candles, wielding a large cropped scythe. Camera 3's owner continues without pause toward the buggy location. However, the buggy is found half absorbed by the SCP-610 map covering the floor. While turning to find another way of escape, Camera 3's owner turns to find the same figure with the scythe approaching, weapon raised. 2 shots are fired, and the camera feed ends. 5 hours later, while final decisions were underway to decide how to contain or eradicate SCP-610 threat, time-delayed video feed from the lost team members who fell into the underground river currents was established. It has been filed in SCP-610-L6. And as SCP-610-L6 does not exist, or has not been written yet, we are not going to go over that. So congratulations, that is the entirety of SCP-610. We did it, gang. We survived.
Hey,
610 is body horror.
we did
incarnate.
it. Wow. Can't.
So I actually have to head out right now.
That's pretty. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
I can't believe it.
Thanks for having me.
I can't believe
I might come back later.
we're losing Jake.
But bye.
Bye, Jake.
Bye,
Believe we lost
Jake. Hello.
Oh, we have a chameleon now. Hello, chameleon.
By the way, oh, yay, mask.
Hey!
I'm dying on the inside, but I'm also cool. To the screen, and that was there. I don't know.
Yeah, speak your piece, introduce yourself, say hi to everybody on camera. That'll be a good minute. That sounds like me.
Being part of the wiki.
Well, thank you so much for the art you made. Your mask looks dope. This sweet flag that we've been using to signify donations is awesome. Well, here's what we're going to do right now. For everybody who is new to the Get Vocal only records for 2 hours at a time. And so what happens now is we are currently in shift number 6. And so what we are going to do is evacuate this room and move into shift number 7's room, at which point we will all claim our windows and restart what I'm going to call all of the authors have requested all of the articles, and we're going to read those things next. Because, yeah, oh yeah. Taylor, Kaiman, Light, and Rockty gave us like 8 articles, so we have a nice hour set ahead of us.
Like 45 minutes.
We will do your article first. It
So I
is on.
can assign roles.
Yes.
Oh, now there's the theater heart in me enjoying life.
And so YouTube, as we shut down this stream on shift 6, we are moving into shift 7. We have completed half of this 24-hour live stream. We have raised a current total of $265 for the San Francisco LGBT Center. You guys are amazing. This is only going to go up from here as people are actually awake for the second half of this. And so
once people are coming off of work, and especially at the later hours, like 6 to midnight, people are really going to be coming in. That's my optimism.
I call this an absolute win.
Doing well.
All right, I will see you guys. We're going to stop this broadcast and meet up in room 7. See you guys in there.
Copy that.